Raj, thank you so much for doing this with Economic Times.
Thank you very much for inviting me for this session. This is a very important subject, and on behalf of FedEx, I'm just delighted to be here today.
Great. So FedEx globally has been at the forefront of adopting ESG practices. When you do such large transformation programs, one of the things is you have to align your corporate strategy with such programs. How are you aligning the FedEx global strategy along with the ESG strategy?
Well, the first thing I would say is that the words ES and G have started to take prominence in the last, let's call it 3, 4, 5 years. But it's something that's been in the FedEx DNA for many, many years. So it's not something that's new to us. We always believe in doing things versus talking about doing things. And so this is what we have done, and it's parcel of our entire FedEx culture. So, we thought very, very carefully about the goals, and we, were the first in our industry to launch very aggressive goals of being carbon neutral by 2040. And so, this is again, like I said, something that, we have thought about deeply, something that we care about deeply as a company, and, something that we act on. But let me also just say that there's E, S, and G, and let me just cover the part of S for a second, because especially in the last 2 years, when the world has gone through a tremendous situation here dealing with this pandemic, I'm just very, very proud of the work that FedEx has done. I think this is one of the most important work that we have done in the history, 50-year history, almost 50-year history of FedEx. And I will also make a point here that FedEx played a significant role in helping India, especially almost a year ago during last April. The fact of the matter is FedEx has got a network in place, and network people take for granted. Network is something that exists or doesn't exist. If it exists, then you can take something from any point in the world and get it to any other point in the world in a matter of a couple of days. And it's not something you can spring it up out of thin air. But we have the network. We have 40 flights a week into India every week. And so then we were able to move thousands and thousands and thousands of oxygen concentrators into India and provide other help during that time. And we have moved hundreds of millions of vaccines around the world, moved billions of PPEs, and so on and so forth. So again, the whole ESG component for FedEx is really the heart of what we are about.
Thank you so much for helping India when we needed all the help. So one of the important things in such large transformation is basically the backbone on which the transformation takes place. Technology is going to play a very important role in this transformation. How do you see technology helping FedEx in the journey?
You're 100% right, Vinod, because technology is very, very critical. We see ourselves at the intersection of physical and digital spaces, and really we are in the midst of a huge transformation in this regard. Now, technology is not new to FedEx, and again, we talk about DNA. Our founder, Fred Smith, talked about the information about a package being as important as the package itself. And you might say, oh, that sounds interesting. But he said that in 1978. And that, laid the foundation for launching, tracking, tracing, and so on and so forth. All the things that have come after that have laid the foundation to where we are today. So what we're taking the next step here is actually building common data platforms with our customers. We have launched a new unit called FedEx DataWorks, and we're working with some of the largest companies in the world to create these common data platforms. So you may ask, what's that to do with ESG? The reason is we totally believe that we want to make supply chains smarter. And that's done by collaboration across industries. And technology plays a real critical role in optimizing our supply chain, optimizing our customer supply chain, providing enhanced visibility to the end customer, and so on. And through this process, we will reduce carbon emissions not only for us but throughout the entire supply chain. So that's one. The second part of it is just the fact that we are committed to electrification. And one of the, obviously we have a lot of assets. We have, almost 200,000 motorized vehicles. We have 700 airplanes. We have more than thousands of facilities around the world. And so, especially on those, motorized vehicles, electrification is our path to success here. And so we are well committed to that. In fact, in India, we are, launching, in Bangalore and now soon to be in Delhi, electrification trials as well. So this is something that's happening all around the world for FedEx.
One of the things is basically when you have an operation as large as FedEx has, is how do you take the idea from boardroom to the front line? I was going through the ESG report. Fantastic work. How have you made sure that the mission cascades down to the front line?
That's an excellent point. And one of the things that we pride ourselves is the ability to communicate and connect our global team members. We have almost 600,000 FedEx team members around the world. And as important as all the assets I told you earlier, the most important assets are our 600,000 frontline folks. In fact, they are the key reason that we have been successful in the last couple of years. And that's just the true FedEx heroes. So for us, communication to the front line is very important. And the second part of that is very important is the fact that we are held together with a common culture. We have a common language that connects us. Doesn't matter which operating company you are in or which part of the world we are in. I've had the great fortune of living and working in different parts of the world. I used to travel the world constantly before the pandemic. But one of the things that people ask me all the time is how are things different and how challenging is it to deal with differences in different parts of the world? And the reality, however, in the FedEx world is that even if the language of the country is different, the language of FedEx is the same. And so we are all connected by our unique philosophy, which we call people, service, profit. We take care of our people, they deliver outstanding service, delivers profit for the company, which we reinvest back in our people. And, so we have this common ethos and that communication mechanisms around the world are well oiled so that we are able to communicate our mission. And specifically in the ESG area, the resonance of that message has been spectacular. And India is actually a very good example of that.
FedEx is a Fortune 500 company at the cutting edge of ESG. Do you think India Inc. should also get onto this ESG bandwagon? It is an imperative of our times.
Firstly, I consider India is to be an extremely important strategic market and priority for FedEx. So that being aside, in the global stage, India is a fast rising economy, fast rising in the weight which is contributing to the global affairs. And I have been involved in dealing with U.S.-India affairs for a very, very long time. And I just see it as a moment here that the relative importance of India is continuing to rise. So the activities in India, therefore, are extremely, extremely important to this effort. So, when I think about this, what the Indian government decides and India decides to do is not only important for India, but for the entire globe. So that's why I was, when in the recent COP26 meeting in Paris, some of the commitments that were made was very interesting, to get India to get its non-fossil fuel capacity to 500 gigawatts by 2030, or India to meet 50% of its energy requirements from renewable sources by 2030, or reducing the projected carbon emission by 1 billion tons by 2030, or carbon intensity of the economy reduction by 45% by 2030, and achieve net zero by 2070. Those are very, very, very important goals. And I feel that that the Indian government understands the role that it has to play.
Some of the sectors actually need more work from on the ESG front, and transportation is one. Do you
Yes.
think that going forward, ESG will be a value driver in transportation business as well?
100%. There's no question about it. And so one of the things that I wanted to tell you is that as much as, some of the answers are present, a lot of the answers are not yet readily available. And so that's why, we donated $100 million to create the Yale Center for Natural Carbon Capture. And this is to do fundamental research to find solutions to problems that haven't been solved yet. So, it's not that we know all the answers. And so, we think carbon capture is a one, particular area. There is great opportunity. We think we can reduce, as an initial goal, 1 billion tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere in a year, and then go from there. But it requires some fundamental research, and that's why we provided the funding for that. There are now other partners who have joined that effort. Again, doesn't matter, they're across the transportation industry right now, but it could be anybody. But again, as we build solutions through electrification and other things, we also know that there are other more difficult challenges and problems to be solved through fundamental research, and that's what we are supporting.
Sure. Last question, and you spoke about the Indian cricket team, so it's going to be a good league. ESG is a cost to business. How do you make the finance and the sustainability team sit together at the same table?
Oh, I think I used to play Googly's pretty good, so I'm all right. Listen, I think what is fundamentally changing is that at the consumer level, there is an increasing level of understanding of what ESG means. And I wouldn't say this was the case even 5 years ago, and I would even say that it is the case uniformly geographically at this point. But if you roll forward from here, I suspect that the awareness of people's making choices are going to be, the choices that people make are going to get more and more particular. And so I think soon we'll be in a stage where people will be able to make green choices. And then with the dollar, so to speak, something maybe initially more expensive, and then a scale comes in, the price may come down. I feel like the people are going to get more responsible, make those green choices. Perhaps it may cost a little bit more than initially, but then as scaling effects take place, then it becomes the norm versus not. So I think that's the transition that's ahead of us, and it's a very good point. And but honestly, the financial community, the investor community, the businesses at large, the consumers at large are in a very different place today than they were 5 years ago.
Thank you so much. Thanks for spending time out of a busy schedule for economic times. Really appreciate this.
Thank you very much, Vinod. And it was wonderful meeting you, and I look forward to seeing you in person on my next visit.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.